Hi, everyone. What is possible? This is going to be such an optimistic podcast episode. I'm so excited. So, we're calling it What is Possible? Finding Real Love. And we're going to talk about the questions people have, such as how do you heal? How do you know when you're ready to date? Um, we want to talk about what I feel like maybe it's too late for me. Would you want to date yourself? So I'm so excited. I have a great guest. Her name is Julie Danielson. Hi, Julie.
Hello, thanks for having me.
Well, thanks for being here. I was actually a host on Julie's podcast. Julie, did we meet through like just Facebook? Think so.
Honestly, yes. I think we've both reached out to each other to just to get to know each other because I've seen your stuff and you've seen my stuff and I know you're in my Facebook group and I've definitely reached out to you before. So yeah.
Okay, so we met through Facebook. We're very
Yep.
like-minded. We're both divorced. We're both remarried. Well, Julie's remarried. I'm in a relationship for 10 years, so that's kind of to me like being married.
Yeah.
And we both found love. We both have happy endings. We both feel like we've healed. And so I think together we're going to give some great advice. This is going to be so much fun.
Yeah. How do you get from there to here?
Absolutely. So, we're talking about what is possible, and obviously, you and I both found real love. Why do you think people don't think it's possible?
I've experienced so many women coming out of divorce feeling like that's it. The best of their life is behind them. Real love just isn't possible for them, or maybe it's a myth. And a lot of times they had such a bad marriage that they're afraid to
To even
even
hope.
to even hope for
Mhm,
love
mhm.
because they just don't think it's available to them.
Yeah,
I
and
was there.
also,
I get
yeah.
that feeling. I was there once, but what I hope to help your listeners to understand today is don't give up hope because it is really truly possible to find amazing love.
Okay, now, Julie, I just thought of something. So, a reader or a listener, one of the
Mhm.
two or both, emailed me and said, I listened to your podcast and you said that next year things are going to be better because I did this podcast about how on the holidays, one of the tips was think about next year, everything's going to be different, you'll be in a different place. And the woman said to me, but it's not. It's not different. What would you say? Because I really didn't even know how to answer that. I was like so sad. What would you say to that woman?
You know, if you believe it's not going to be better, then you're doing something to stay stuck. And you're not doing the work to get unstuck. And the work to get unstuck is working on, learning from your past relationship, working on yourself because you don't have control about those people around you, but you can control how you respond or react and you can do self-development and growth, which I truly believe is the magical path to happiness.
All right, let's talk about that for a minute. But what
Yeah.
I'm saying is, this woman said, it's
Mhm.
been a year. I'm not in a better place than I
Yeah.
was last year. And
Yeah.
what I wanted to say to her was, well, something's different. You're definitely not in the same place. She didn't say she's worse, but don't
I
you
think
feel like,
some people stay stuck exactly where they are, Jackie.
Mhm.
I talked about this on my podcast. I spoke with a woman who was just as bitter and angry and pissed off at her ex as she was the day they got divorced, and it had been 12 years. 12.
We all know people like that. And
Yeah.
I tell people, do you want to be that person who nobody wants to be around? And when they see you coming, they just turn the other way because they know you're going to talk about your divorce and they don't want to have that vibe.
Yeah. So
Yes.
that's what I'm saying. You have to take an active role in your healing. You can't
Mm-hmm.
just sit there and hope time is going to heal you because it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't. Like,
I love that you're a doer, Julie. I
yeah.
love this. Okay, so you talked about just now how people need to do the work. What does that mean? What does that look like?
Yeah. And I think that's confusing because people hear, oh, I got to do the work. I got to work on myself. And a lot of ladies think that that means they need to hit the gym and fix this outside meat suit so they can
Mhm.
attract a guy. And that's total bullshit. Like doing the work is actually finding self-love and confidence and self-compassion where you're at, where you are right
Right,
now.
right.
Like really like saying, okay, I got divorced. Let's move on from that. Instead of looking back and having regret and sitting in it, let's look forward at what I do want. What
Mhm.
if I could dream up a magical future for myself? What would it be? And then let's start taking action towards that, because that and becoming the person that creates that in her life, that is the work.
Now, I love that you said, that doesn't mean fixing this whole thing. But I
Mm-mm.
do want to tell my listeners that doesn't mean that you are allowed to eat cheeseburgers and fries every night, because now we're talking about physical health.
Yeah,
So, yes, if you need to fix your eating habits so that you're healthy,
yeah.
this isn't about looks. This is about staying healthy and feeling good.
Yeah. And I think when you're doing inner work, which is what I call the whole self-development thing, part of inner work is getting healthy. Okay,
Mhm.
part of doing that inner work is like get your ass to the doctor on time and make sure that you're getting your boobs smashed for and checked for breast cancer, all of
Right.
those things. Like you're checking all of the boxes.
Make
But
sure that your vitamin D level when you go for your test is normal, because guess
yeah,
what? For people listening, if you're feeling tired or
yeah.
you're just not feeling well, you could have a lack of vitamin D and you don't even know it.
Listen, I lived in Alaska all my life. I lived in a vitamin D deficiency. The other
Mhm.
things that they need to be looking out for, women of our age, a certain age, is their hormone health. I found that I had Hashimoto's, and all of these things came into a perfect storm, right? And there's so many things that could be going on wrong with you that causes you to feel depressed because you don't have the energy, you don't have the vitality that you wish you had. So start at your basic health, like your health. Get everything checked out. Do the best you can. I'm working on my gut health. I do not eat gluten. There's so many things that I do to maintain my health. Everyone should be doing that. So that's part of the inner work, because becoming the person that can do that is part of the inner work, right? Like if I had to adhere to a diet 10 years ago, I would have been like failing at every corner. But now it's like just part of my life.
Mhm.
So becoming the person that can do that, right? I mean, I can't tell you how many times I walked into the gym on a Monday and by Friday I said, fuck it. And I'm, eating chips, salsa, and margaritas with my friends, like a lot. So,
Everyone listening can relate to that. Okay, we are going to take a short break. You're listening to the Divorce Girl Smiling podcast. My name is Jackie Pilosoff, and I'm your host. I'm here today with Julie Danielson, who has been a divorce and relationships coach for 10 years. Julie and I are both divorced. Julie and I both found real meaningful love after divorce, and that's what we're talking about today. And Julie, by the way, is also the host of the Get Over Divorce podcast, which I was a guest on. Great podcast. After the break, we are going to get into more specifically ways to heal yourself, how to know if you're ready, debunking the myth, it's too late for me to meet someone. And we're going to answer the question, do you want to date yourself? So we'll be right back. Welcome back to the Divorced Girl Smiling podcast. My name is Jackie Pilosoff, and I'm your host. Would you want to date yourself? I'm starting with that.
I think that is such a great question because if the answer is no, you have to get really clear on why that is. And then that is part of the inner work we're talking about. You go to work on fixing those things. And you do it because you want to be the best version of you,
Mhm,
right?
mhm,
Like if you would date yourself, what does that look like? What
mhm.
version of you? What do you need to bring to the table to be that? And
Well, I heard actually, I'm stealing that question from Mark Manson. I don't know if you ever read
I
him.
love him. Yeah.
Love him. The best. And
Hmm.
he asked that, would you want to date yourself? Now, you might have qualities being like, I really like this about myself. I like this. Nobody's like all like, no way or definitely. We all have things we want to work on and things we like about ourselves.
Yeah.
How can we make the things we like about ourselves even better? And how can we fix the things that we really feel like we know we need to change because we wouldn't want to date this? So you were talking about doing the work. What are some other things specifically that somebody can do to get themselves in a good place to manifest love?
I love that. I think a lot of work needs to be done on our self-esteem. After a rocky marriage or rocky divorce, a lot of us have to kind of pick ourselves up and wipe ourselves off and figure out, okay, how can I be the most confident version of me? What does that look like? Because stepping into the dating world is not something you want to do when you're super insecure and you feel super shy and timid and you identify as being, an empath. um, that's being a target to a narcissist, and nobody wants that, right? So you have to be willing to gain that confidence and do what it takes to become a confident person. Part of that is learning to love your alone time. I think that's one of the hardest things women go through when they're newly divorced is that alone time. They fill it with numbing, they fill it with filling up.
Numbing, meaning like I'm going to have 3 glasses of wine because I'm by myself tonight. You don't need to numb yourself. You don't
You
need
can
to
numb yourself with wine, Netflix, online shopping. I mean,
eating.
hindering, right?
Hmm.
Eating.
Hmm.
There's so many things you can numb yourself with. But the best thing to do is to learn to love your alone time and make the most of it. So that means find hobbies, find activities that you like to do, go for a walk in nature, enjoy the time that you are alone. Because if you are loathing every minute that you're alone and you're spinning on that loneliness, you're not going to become somebody that is interesting to date. But the person that like builds their hobbies and starts getting out there and is enjoying her alone time, that is an interesting person to date.
You just brought up something. I find that people, both men and women, love like different stuff. Like if you tell somebody you went to this certain museum or you did this, they'll be like, oh my God, that is so interesting. We want to be interesting. And the way you do that is to explore new things, get
Yes.
out of your comfort zone a little bit and try
Mhm.
things because that gives
Yeah.
you experiences, stuff to talk about. You are so right, Julie.
Bang on. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Like,
Okay, now the
I
other
had an
thing,
example really quick. I had a
yeah.
client who loved playing Dungeons and Dragons, and she really struggled with dating. But when she made her profile about Dungeons and Dragons, she attracted her perfect soulmate guy. And they just
Wow.
love to nerd out together and it's their thing. And I think that's so amazing.
I love that. Okay, so I was just going to say, I have written so many articles on how to precipitate self-love, which is kind
Okay.
of what we're talking about here, getting
Yeah.
self-confidence. Another way, how do you feel about giving back, volunteering, doing kind, random acts of kindness, doing kind things, going to see an elderly person, making cookies for somebody who's like not, or soup for someone who's not feeling well. Giving back and doing random acts of kindness
That
just
definitely.
from your heart will make you love yourself so much.
Yes, I think that helps you fill that need for, being having a, what do you call it? Having
Like a
a
purpose.
purpose. Thank you. That was
Mhm.
the P word that I was searching for in my brain.
Mhm.
It makes you feel fulfilled to do those things. So
Yes.
absolutely do those things, but I also would say don't overdo them because a lot
Mhm.
of women will also numb themselves by giving,
Oh.
giving, and giving of themselves. It's a
Mhm.
very female characteristic to always be doing for others and not to be doing for ourselves. I
Yes.
also want you to use this time to fill your own bucket and
Yes.
not just other people's, but fill your
Yes.
own bucket. Put your wants, needs, and desires first. And that, knowing what those are, is going to help you build that self-confidence and self.
Okay, I'm going to give you a great example of, let's say you have a Saturday or Sunday when you're not working. Here
Mhm,
would be a good day. In the morning, you work out, you do some kind of thing for your body.
mhm.
Then you make a smoothie. Now you're eating healthy. You're putting some greens, some fruit, some protein, whatever it is you put in your smoothie.
Yeah.
Then maybe you go visit someone in the hospital or go visit a friend, whatever. Then you decide to go to your favorite boutique and shop for an hour. See
Mhm,
how we're doing all these other things. Then maybe
mhm.
you get together with like one of your old friends who you reconnected with on Facebook. How fun is that? Doesn't
Yeah.
that just sound like a lovely day of
Yeah.
doing a variety? It's a good mix of balance of all these different things. So you can go to bed that night saying, wow, I had a really nice day.
Yes. Yes. And you're not sitting in that pity party of, oh my gosh, I'm so bored. I'm so lonely. How come nobody ever calls me to do anything?
And guess what? Those people who say, no one ever calls me, well, then pick up the phone and call them. Because you know what? People
Yeah.
are kind of disorganized, I've found out. I have a lot of friends who, if I didn't call them, we would never get together. I'm the caller. So after years and years of this, they just expect that I'm going to call them. Does it hurt my ego? Absolutely not. I love seeing them and we get together and that's it.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter who called who if it's a really good friend.
Yes, absolutely.
All right, let's move on to how to know when you're ready. What if you like are not sure? How, am I
Yeah.
ready to date? Am I really ready for love? You know, a lot of people think they are and they haven't done the work.
Yeah. Like, I think you have to really ask yourself, am I dating out of need because I need someone there to be my entertainment source, to be my, provider, to be my person because I can't give it to myself? Or am I dating because I feel completely fulfilled in my life and I could give a rat's ass if I find somebody because my life is good? That is actually the place where you want to be when you step into dating. And that's because you have to be willing to break up with somebody. If you're dating from a place of need, you will take the next warm body that comes along because you have this void to fill. But if you filled it with yourself because you know how to go out and have a good time and have fun, and you don't need that person to give it to you, you become a good partner. It makes you a good partner. So fill that void for yourself. Don't need a person. And that's when you're ready. And it
And you know,
sounds counterintuitive because, like, when you get to that point, you're kind of like, I love my life. This is awesome. But that means you're not going to settle, right?
okay,
You're not going to be alone.
I just went walking with a friend of mine who's single, and she just said to me, I said, you know, how's dating? We've been walking together for 2 years. And she's like, honestly, I'm in this place where life is so good. Really thinking about it. Now, I have to say, Julie, I guarantee next time I walk with her, she will have met someone. I just know it. I
And
just know it because she doesn't
that's
care anymore. Not in a bitter way, not like, oh, I don't care. She's just kind of like, everything's great.
that is when the universe is going to deliver.
Hmm.
It is when you don't need it anymore. When
Yes,
you have your own back and you are enjoying your life, that is when you have transitioned to becoming a very good partner yourself.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And, also when you cut out toxic people in your life,
Yeah.
it really helps you get this is part of that whole doing the work
Yeah.
Julie and I are talking about. Don't you feel like if there's people you're hanging around and they're not making you feel good about yourself, or they're just, you're fighting, even if it's your ex, maybe you
Yeah.
need to just stop talking for a while.
Yeah.
Toxicity in your life is going to hold you back from healing, and
Yeah.
not, and you're going to have this like anxiety. And once you get those people out of the picture, like I have a friend who used to tell me to take like a pill bottle and stick this like get a brown paper bag, write the person's name on it, stick it in the freezer. And she's like, you need to put them in the freezer. And like then they're out of your life. And when you
Yeah.
remove that toxicity, it like is one less weight off your shoulders so that you can have a new you have room for more
You have room.
positivity.
Yes, absolutely. And honestly, like that goes for friends, that even goes for family members. Family members may need to have, you may need to have some really strong boundaries around family members, especially as we're going into this holiday, season. Sometimes we need really strong boundaries around family members. I mean, I've had that for some time with certain family members, really strong boundaries. And
Mhm.
there's also some friends who didn't make the cut.
Okay, now, Julie, I'm so glad you said
I,
boundaries because I want to
yeah.
tell my listeners family members are family members. You can't cut them out of your life.
Oh,
We're
that's
not
not true.
saying do
You
that.
can. You can.
No, but I mean, like, I'm saying, like, I'm really anti cutting family out. Listen, if they
Hmm.
do something really horrible, we all know. But I'm
Yeah.
saying if it's just something of a difference of opinion, they're your family and that's pretty thick. So
Right.
unless it's really, really bad. But as
I'm not
Julie
talking
said,
about cutting
setting
out family.
boundaries
Yeah.
is that's very important. Even if it's like your sister, it could be, if you set boundaries, that's
Yeah.
important. But don't ever just cut out a family member, you
Well,
know.
Jackie, that's a very personal decision for each individual. The last words I ever said to my real dad was F you when I was 16 years old, and I never heard from him
No.
again. So he did try to reach out in terms of friending me on Facebook when I was in my mid 40s. And I just, if he
That's
really wanted
heartbreaking.
if he wanted to make an effort, he could have, but like I did not make an effort because I saw how painful it was for my siblings to keep a relationship with him because it
Hmm.
it was very hard for them.
Hmm.
So I think, to each their own,
Yeah.
but boundaries are definitely a good first step before you
Okay.
have
Now,
to go,
Julie, I wanted to clarify what I was thinking when I said that because I didn't even think about that. And I'm
right?
so sorry. But
No,
what you're
yeah.
talking about, and I am not, I promise my listeners and you, I am not getting political. But I have
Yeah.
heard certain people go on news stations and say, if you have family members that voted for Trump, if you need to separate from yourselves and not speak to them, that's completely okay. And I don't know how you feel, Julie, but I kind of feel like it should not be discussed. People should
Yes.
respect each other's
Yes.
opinions, and you should not let it ruin your family because
I think
family
that's
is
a great
everything.
topic because of the holidays coming up.
Hmm.
And my own family and children are divided.
Hmm.
So my rule of thumb is we won't talk about it. And as the adult person in the room, I have to be the one to enforce that boundary with
Hmm.
everybody. right?
I'm so happy to hear that because family is so important, and to
Yeah,
end relationships over politics is
that's stupid.
absolutely a terrible thing.
Yeah,
And people who get on TV and give that advice really make me angry.
ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
It really, oh, I'm so glad we're in agreement.
Yeah,
Okay, we're
yeah.
sort of running out of time, but let's talk about, if I had to ask you, what is the biggest tip on if somebody said, I really, really want to meet someone, I want to find love, I feel like I'm ready, what would you say?
Okay, I love that. If they feel like they're ready, I would say dip your toe in the dating pool and definitely follow somebody's rules or guidelines to know how to date online in a safe, healthy way that honors you. Like you're not out there in the dating world to people please all these guys. You are there to honor yourself
And you're not desperate.
and you're not desperate. So have your guidelines, have your qualities that you want in a person, have your wants, needs, and desires, and make sure that you're finding a guy that is a match for you, not vice versa.
Oh my gosh, Julie, we could finish each other's sentences, I swear. Um, okay, my advice to people is don't put pressure on yourself. There is no rush to be married, to move
Mm,
in together. You take all the time you need and get it right this time because you deserve to have happy, healthy love like Julie has, like I have. And
yes.
I was alone for many, many years. And it feels so good that I don't need my spouse. I just love having him in my life.
I think that's the best thing possible. And I wish that for everyone because it is love is the most amazing feeling we can have on this
Wait,
planet.
hold on. We have to just edit that whole part out. We're gonna wait till the dog stops barking.
Oh, I didn't even hear him.
Okay. All right. Please edit that out, Rob. Thanks. Okay. Julie, thank you so much for being on the show. I really appreciate the time. I love this conversation.
I love it. Thank you so much for having me. We'll have to do it again.
Absolutely. And if you want to, Jackson, come here, babe. If you want to listen to Julie's podcast, hold on one second.
No worries.
Okay. 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 And to my listeners, if you want to listen to Julie's podcast, you can find her at Get Over Divorce. What's it called?
Get Over Divorce
Okay.
podcast.
Okay. I'll start over. And if you want to listen to Julie's podcast, you can find it at Get Over Divorce Podcast, anywhere podcasts can be found. And if you want to find trusted, vetted divorce professionals, or listen to other podcasts, or read articles, or sign up for my free consult, you can find me at divorcedgirlsmiling.com. Thanks so much for listening, everyone.